Imagine giving up your greatest dream to help someone you love. Imagine seeing that dream being fulfilled by another person while you stay behind in silence. This is the story of Letícia, a young woman who made an extremely painful choice out of love for her family. A choice that, at that moment, seemed like the end of everything she desired most, but which destiny, with its mysterious wisdom, transformed into her greatest achievement. Prepare your heart. This is a story of generous sacrifice, silent pain, and a beautiful and touching turnaround. Letícia was 24 years old and had been passionate about music since she was a small child. She played the violin with such great and delicate sensitivity that she could move anyone who stopped to listen. Even for just a few minutes, her fingers glided over the strings with lightness, precision, and a deep emotion, as if the instrument were part of her own heart. She had been accepted into one of the best music schools in the country with a highly competitive and difficult partial scholarship. It was the dream of her life, to study classical violin full-time, perfect her technique to the maximum, learn from great masters, and one day perform on great stages and in important concerts. In the simple two-bedroom house where she lived with her mother and younger sister, Letícia rehearsed every night, even after a tiring day, giving private tutoring lessons. Her mother, who worked as a seamstress in a small workshop, was immensely proud of her daughter and saved every possible penny to help with the music school expenses. Her sister Lara, only 14 years old, watched the rehearsals with eyes shining with pure admiration and always repeated with enthusiasm, "One day you're going to be famous, La. I'll be in the front row, clapping really loud for you." Letícia smiled affectionately, hugged her sister, and replied, "If I succeed, I'll take you both with me too, everywhere I go." Everything seemed to be aligning perfectly in her life at that moment. The final test to confirm the scholarship was scheduled for 2 months later, and Letícia was preparing with great seriousness. She trained for several hours a day, full of hope, dedication, and an impressive determination for someone so young. She woke up early, gave lessons throughout the entire day, and at night she immersed herself body and soul in the music she loved so much. The whole family was excited about the possibility of seeing Letícia fulfilling her great childhood dream. Her mother already imagined her daughter elegantly dressed on a brightly lit stage, and Lara wouldn't stop talking about it with her friends. No one in the house imagined that life would soon ask her for a very great and difficult sacrifice to accept. One day, Leticia's mother arrived home earlier than usual, with a visibly tired, worried, and downcast face. She sat down in the simple living room, took a deep breath, and told them in a low and trembling voice that the small sewing workshop where she worked would be closing its doors in a few weeks. Without that steady job, the family's income would drop by practically half, which would seriously complicate everyone's life in the coming months. Lara urgently needed braces for her teeth, and her studies were starting to suffer because they couldn't buy all the necessary school materials. Letícia listened attentively to every word from her mother, feeling her heart tighten strongly inside her chest as if it were being crushed. Her mother, with tears held back in her eyes, said softly and with great difficulty, "Daughter, I know how much you dream about the music school, but I don't know if we'll be able to keep all the bills up to date without sacrificing something very important." Letícia spent that entire night awake, thinking, praying quietly, and reflecting deeply on what to do. The next day, after much internal struggle and held back tears, she made an extremely painful and definitive decision. She canceled her enrollment in the music school and used all the money she had saved with so much effort and care to help with the household bills and her sister's dental treatment. When she told her decision to her mother and Lara, the two cried a lot, hugging each other. Lara hugged her sister tightly and said between sobs, "You didn't need to do this for us, That was your dream." Letícia replied with a sad but serene and mature smile, "You are more important to me than any stage or concert in the world." She carefully stored the violin inside its case, closed it slowly, and couldn't play it for many days in a row. The sacrifice was profound. It hurt her heart deeply and left a silent wound, but Letícia felt a strange peace for having put her family first. The following months were especially difficult, silent, and heavy for Letícia. She continued giving private tutoring lessons to help with the household bills, but she felt an enormous and constant emptiness. Every time she saw someone playing the violin on the street, on television, or even in simple commercials, she would open the case just to look at the stored instrument, and the tears would fall silently without her being able to control them. She avoided talking about music so as not to suffer even more from the memory of the dream that had been postponed. Her mother felt very guilty and frequently repeated with a choked voice, "Daughter, I feel so sorry that you had to give all this up because of us." Letícia always responded with affection and maturity. "It wasn't anyone's fault. Mom, life sometimes asks us for difficult choices, and we do the best we can." Lara, who used to insistently ask her sister to play songs for her to sleep, now avoided bringing up the subject so as not to hurt Letícia. Letícia immersed herself even deeper into work, giving more lessons during the day and helping her mother with sewing at home. Until late at night, on the outside, she kept a smile on her face and said she was fine and moving forward. On Teen Seed, she carried a silent, deep, and constant sadness that few could perceive. It seemed that her great dream had died or had been postponed to a distant and uncertain future. Even so, she continued to be kind, patient, loving, and very present with her family at all times. No one imagined how much that sacrifice still weighed daily on her heart, like a wound that was slow to heal. One day, one of Leticia's students, an 11-year-old girl named Sofia, arrived crying a lot during her tutoring class. The girl's mother had lost her job and could no longer pay for the private lessons. Letícia saw the sincere desperation in the child's little eyes and felt a strong and painful tightness in her chest. Instead of simply canceling the classes, she made a generous and spontaneous decision. She would continue teaching Sofia for free. "Start coming twice a week. I'll teach you for free," she said with a kind and welcoming smile. Sofia's mother cried with gratitude upon hearing the unexpected proposal. The news spread quickly through the small neighborhood where they lived. Other mothers began looking for Letícia, asking for more affordable or even free classes for their children who dreamed of music. Letícia, even tired from her own busy daily routine, couldn't say no to those families. She began giving group classes in the garage of her house, using simple plastic chairs, borrowed notebooks, and her own violin that she kept with so much care. Little by little, the small garage began to fill with children and teenagers who dreamed of learning music but had never had the financial means to do so. Letícia discovered, surprised and moved, that teaching music brought her a different, deep, and healing joy. Letícia began to organize a small project that she affectionately called Music for Everyone. She prepared simple performances at the end of each month so that the children could show what they had learned with so much effort. The neighborhood parents filled the cramped garage, proud and emotional as they watched their children playing their first melodies. For the first time in a long time, Letícia felt her heart light, full of meaning, and with a new joy. She was no longer playing for grand illuminated stages, but she saw the children's little eyes shining when they managed to play a correct note or a simple melody without making a mistake. Her mother and sister Lara began to help organize the classes and the small performances. Lara, who used to see her sister sad and quiet, now smiled openly when she saw Letícia happy and fulfilled teaching. Letícia gradually realized that her love for music had not died. It had simply found a new, more beautiful, and more generous way to express itself in the world. She was transforming her sacrifice into something much greater, giving real opportunity and hope to those who would never have had the chance to learn music. One day, a well-dressed, elegant lady with an attentive gaze appeared in the garage during one of the children's performances. She was the director of a large cultural foundation in the city and had been invited by one of the neighborhood mothers. She was deeply impressed, both by Leticia's dedicated and caring work and by the genuine sparkle of happiness in the children's eyes. After the performance, she talked at length with Letícia about the project, asking many questions. "You have transformed your pain into something truly beautiful and useful for the community. We would very much like to support your work." The foundation offered full sponsorship, new equality, musical instruments, a larger space, and even a small salary for Letícia to coordinate the project full-time. Letícia could barely believe what she was hearing. her eyes filled with tears of emotion. Weeks later, Music for Everyone gained its own headquarters, with several airy classrooms and enough instruments to serve dozens of students at the same time. Letícia was invited to give lectures on accessible music education at important events in the city. Her name began to be recognized in the local cultural scene in a positive, respected, and inspiring way. 2 years later, Letícia was standing on the stage of a large, well-lit auditorium full of people, not as a violin soloist, but as the coordinator of a project that had already served more than 300 children from the outskirts of the city. In the audience were her mother and her sister Laura, little Sophia, and many of the children she had taught with so much care and dedication. When they called her name to receive an important award for social impact in music education, Letícia felt her eyes well up with deep emotion. In her speech, she spoke with an emotional and firm voice, looking at her family. I gave up a dream thinking I was losing everything. Today, I understand that sacrifice led me exactly to my true purpose. Her mother and sister applauded, standing up, with great pride and tears in their eyes. Letícia had found something much greater than a bright stage, a purpose that touched and transformed the lives of many people at the same time. Today, Letícia continues to lead the Music for Everyone project, which grows every year with more strength, reach, and impact. She still plays the violin with great love, but now mainly to teach, inspire, and move new generations of children. Her mother managed to open her own small sewing workshop, and Laura is studying music thanks to her older sister's project. The family lives united, grateful, and happy with the new reality they built together. Sometimes life asks us to give up an important dream, not because it wasn't valid or beautiful, but because it had an even greater purpose waiting for us further ahead. What seems like a painful loss can be the path to something much more beautiful, meaningful, and transformative. Never underestimate the power of a choice made with true love and generosity. When we put the well-being of others before our own desires, life often surprises us with blessings we could never have imagined. If this story touched your heart, leave your like now, write in the comments. What have you already given up for love of your family? Was that choice worth it to you? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss more touching stories of overcoming, purpose, and transformation. Share this video with someone who needs strength and hope today. Your story is still being written. Keep your heart open. The end.